Welcome back to the Lights Out podcast, bedtime stories for boys and girls, for when the lights go out. Good evening, boys and girls. Are you ready for bed? Are you all snuggled up and ready for another Lights Out bedtime story? Well, you're in for a treat tonight, because tonight's story is called The Incredible Book-Eating Boy by one of my favorite authors, Oliver Jeffers. Tonight, a big shout out goes to all the awesome authors who are supporting the show's mission for 1,000 ad-free stories forever for children around the world, and the listeners who are liking, subscribing, joining all the places where this podcast is being played, like the Facebook group or Spotify. Talking of Spotify, we now have 1,990 followers. That's a big number. And our mini mission is to try and get 2021 by the end of the year. And if we do that, I'm going to give away 2021 of my own books for free. But let's get on with this book, The Incredible Book-Eating Boy by Oliver Jeffers. Once upon a time, Henry loved books, but not like you and I love books. No, not quite. Henry loved to eat books. It all began quite by mistake one afternoon when he wasn't paying attention. He wasn't sure at first and tried eating a single word, just to test. Next, he tried a whole sentence and then the whole page. Yes, Henry definitely liked them. By Wednesday, he had eaten a whole book. And by the end of the month, he could eat a whole book in one go. Henry loved eating all sorts of books: storybooks, dictionaries, atlases, joke books, books of facts, even math books. But the red ones were his favourite, and he was going through them at a fierce rate. But here is the best bit. The more he ate, the smarter he got. A book goes in, information goes to the brain. The brain is getting bigger. Belly gets full. He ate a book about goldfish, and then he knew what to feed Ginger. Before long, he could do his father's crossword in the newspaper, and was even smarter than his teacher in school. Henry loved being smart. He thought that if he kept going, he might even become the smartest person on earth. So he kept eating books, and he kept getting smarter and smarter and smarter. He went from eating books whole to eating 3 or 4 of them at a time. Books about anything. Henry wasn't fussy, and he wanted to know it all. But then things started going not quite so well. In fact, they started going very, very wrong. Henry was eating too many books, and too quickly at that. He was beginning to feel a little ill. But here is the worst bit. Everything he was learning was getting mixed up. He didn't have time to digest it properly. It became quite embarrassing for him to speak. Suddenly, Henry didn't feel very smart at all. More than one person told him he should stop eating books. So Henry gave up eating books and sat sadly for a long time. What was he to do? Then, after a while, and almost by accident, Henry picked up a half-eaten book from the floor, but instead of putting it in his mouth, Henry opened it up and began to read. And it was so good. Henry discovered that he loved to read, and he thought that if he read enough, he might still become the smartest person on earth. It would just take a bit longer. Now, Henry reads all the time, although every now and then. The end. Wow, that is an incredible book about an incredible book-eating boy, and you have to see it to believe it. Oliver Jeffers is just such a great illustrator and writer, and here's a secret on the last page. It looks like somebody's taken a bite out of it. It must be Henry. It must have been Henry. Wow, that's so cool. You've got to go out and see it. That is The Incredible Book-Eating Boy, here on the Lights Out podcast. Bedtime stories for boys and girls for when the lights go out. Good night.